Oh, hi, Katie. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on to share your voice. So do you want to tell us a bit about yourself to start with?
My name's Katie. I'm originally from Devon, but I primarily live, work and go to church in Bristol. And I have cerebral palsy, which means that I've been in a wheelchair for most of my life. It just means that I need to use a wheelchair to get around day to day.
How has your disability, how has it impacted your faith?
I think the first point where kind of God became real to me in terms of having a personal relationship with him was when I was about 14, because at that point I needed to make a decision about having what's called multi-level surgery, which is a fairly significant surgery. It involved like 4 hours worth of kind of operations and quite a lot of rehab. It was one of those kinds of turning point life moments where you kind of I felt that I needed to kind of take ownership of my disability and trust God in a way that I hadn't done before. Because I think up until that point, I'd done a lot to try and kind of minimize my disability and like almost like run away from it. You know, it was something that I quite keen to kind of do other things like academics or, you know, fit in socially or all of these kinds of things. And I just really felt God challenged me at that point in my life to say, well, actually, do you really trust me to work with what I've given you? Because the fact that he's created me with this disability and the fact that actually he wants to use it. So I just felt like I needed to really trust him with it. And the church that I grew up in, it was brilliant. But having like visions and like words of the Spirit, words and things like that wasn't very common at that point. But this lady had this picture for me, and it was that I was going to get out of the baptistry and walk unaided. And I remember that on the day that I got baptized, she literally kind of jumped up out of her seat to see whether or not I walked out of the baptistry. And I didn't. But I remember God speaking to me. It wasn't like an audible voice, but it was something that I really felt in my heart that although I may never walk like physically in this life, he was going to walk spiritually with me, and that my kind of job was to try and just walk in step with him, and that he was going to walk with me and try and like bring others on that journey as well. Long story short, that's kind of what I've tried to do from that point on, tried to work in a way through church and like my day job to try and emphasize the positives about.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And is that the testimony about when it sounds like a lady perhaps she really wanted to see that physical healing. Is that a testimony that's easy to share in the church, or is it one that's still quite difficult to share, would you say?
I think it really varies. So I've had because of the way that I felt God spoke to me, I've always been really clear about the fact that I am who I am for a reason, and so that from my point of view, that's okay, and I'm at peace with that. And I absolutely believe praying for healing, and it definitely in some circumstances it definitely works, you know, for some people and some people's story, you know, absolutely a healing happens and it is physical. I just think that sometimes we can kind of get so caught up on seeing a physical result that perhaps we need to be more aware of the fact that God is a God that works outside of time and space and our own expectations, and actually he can do immeasurably more than what we could ask or imagine. And so whilst I absolutely have faith that if he wanted to heal me on the spot, he would do, and that he can, you know, for other people in other situations, I just really feel that like this is where I'm at, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Thanks for your encouragement, and thank you for sharing your experience. And I know that a lot of those issues can be quite sensitive about healing and things, but it's really important that we have these voices shared and to get the messages out of and for people to hear. So thank you.
That's all right.